Hello guys, welcome back. So this last video will be just some refining on this. It's gonna be like always, mm, you can never call it ended because there's always something you can enhance and fix right in details, right? So you can always say like this is finished because based on how much detail you want it to be having, this could be like if you're rendering this character from this further away, maybe you don't need a whole lot of more details, maybe just some really simple noise of the skin applied to to the model. Okay, right. Yeah, I think we have done a whole lot in the front. Let's take a look at the back. Okay, the back is not having a lot of things yet, but again, it doesn't have a lot of things on the reference either, right? Actually, I have a different model in here. This is more like a 3D scanned data also. You can see hands are actually pretty different. So you can find, of course, multiple references to look at. That one is from Anonymous 360. They have a lot of cool like scan data, including like full body human with also some poses. So you can change the lighting and stuff. I don't quite remember how much did I pay for it. It's like $50, $30. Don't know. It's okay. It's not super expensive, but it's totally worth it to to get something like that because it's like all 360 degrees. You can take a look at the model from all these angles. Yeah, my dog is scratching the carpet. Don't know why. Sorry about that. Cool. So I'm gonna try to pull these, push these things in a bit more. Looks like the shape here is more dynamic than just a big budge. Okay, and then yeah, that's my dog. The background noise. That's the dog scratching the carpet for some reason. Yeah, but again, here is just gonna be the process of seeing a shape, copy it, down the way, discover if there's something wrong, fix it. Okay. It's kind of like a repetitive stage now to get the wrinkles in. Okay, really not that much to talk about. Yeah, if you're curious about the anatomy, you can take a look at some anatomy book on how to describe these things. I think the important thing to learn from an anatomy book is description of the things, like how do they describe it, like characteristic wise, right? Looks like what, or what kind of a planar shape it does have, kind of thing. I think that's the essentials. The the detailed muscle structure comes into second. Okay. Right, trying to make this area. Okay, some wrinkles. Here I think this budge is losing too much of visibility. Getting it back. You can see stand-up brush is non-destructive. When you use stand-up brush, you still have what's going on in there. Clip build-up will override what's going on down there. So use those two brushes wisely. I think you'll be able to choose to use more standard brush when you're moving closer and closer to finishing it. You'll be using more clay build up when you're building bigger shapes, like what I'm doing here now. Okay, there's a bunch of smaller up and downs here, trying to mimic. I think this part can get just a bit flattened. Okay, so you don't draw out those wrinkles before you figure out how this part evolves first. So I'm trying to address that. Okay, I remember actually addressing those wrinkles in the beginning. Again, that's kind of like something I destroyed it down the way. The process, again, is not really that important to me. Like I could do that there because I feel like I like to do it. Sometimes it's fun, right? It's okay. You can destroy it and redo it, right? It's not like something like you have to be super, say, academically following the same process. It's not like a physics experiment or something like that, right? You don't conduct the same experiment the same way all the time, right? You're trying to, have some fun, right? Not like like being all serious all the time. It's kind of like, a creative process, right? Okay. Use Move Brush to pull this in, because it feels like this part could be way down there. Okay, there's some interesting little bulging happening. I think that's because of the push and pulls of different muscles, which causes the tissue to squeeze and stretch. That kind of like, getting the smaller bulges in there. Not necessarily to be like, there's a muscle there, right? Not like that all the time, right? If you look at the anatomy of the thing, there's a bunch of small muscles, but in here it's not that much of a muscle structure happening, right? It's more like the connections from the arm to the fingers, right? A bunch of threading kind of like happening in there. Okay. And also, like, make your color darker can help you to see things better. So pure white color would actually sometimes becomes harder to see the changing of the detail when it's overexposed, basically. All right. As you can see, as long as you got those bigger things I was talking about, like that and that and that and that, right? And the low ground down there, it's basically there, right? And you just have to having some detail blocked in, basically. All right. So you don't worry about smaller things that fast or that often. And I think the best way of doing like even smaller details here, like winkles and stuff, would be having some scan data and just project those things on top. Okay, it's just not really worth it, I think, to do everything like really from scratch, like you sculpt everything without any help with alphas or whatever. But as you can see, when you reach to this stage, it's basically just needing some like noise coverage to make it feels like there's smaller details in there. My intensity is too low for that. Right. Cool. Anyway, just to advance a bit more, I'm gonna Control D to subdivide this model one more time. So we have enough subdivision levels. Okay. And I guess I can solo this thing now because I don't really see any more detail on that reference. Okay. So we can go here and try to add a few more details, maybe on the top of the fingers. Let me rotate my reference on the other side. Okay. So it's basically, if you look at what's going on, it's gonna be a bunch of lines wrapping around. The lines are thicker and deeper in the middle, thinner on the edge, and gradually kind of like blending to this empty area, right? So if I were to mimic that here on this finger, I could just use the dam standard and draw things out like this. Another one over here, another one wrapping around this way, another one wrapping around this way, smaller ones to the edge. Let me Control D to subdivide it one more time. And then even thinner and smaller ones gradually to the edge. And maybe I can make the middle one a little bit more refined here. Okay, to have that kind of like detail in there. Right. And again, it's just gonna be the matter of repeating this process on all the other fingers. So bigger and stronger things in the middle, they're not quite connected. They're almost like they're broken. Sometimes you have some vertical ones, which is weaker. Right, and then you got thinner lines on the edge, and gradually like have thinner lines to the two sides. Okay. All right. So you can smooth that out a little bit. So if you really want to do nice detail, I would recommend to go for texturing X, Y, Z's, alphas. These are really nice. I rely on that a whole lot. It's a bit more expensive. I think it's like $30 per asset. But again, it's totally worth it. It's like it's gonna give you the best quality you can get. Right? Human sculpting can only reach to a level of cleanness and accuracy. Well, scan data is just the actual data, right? Those are more accurate on some sense. So I would recommend you to do that. Okay, there's some. If I can just go to that angle, maybe it would be easier. Oh, actually, the other hand. Cool. So there's some interesting wrinkle happening in here. It's like crossed diamond shapes. Oh. Okay, now when you have some scan data and you project your data this way, like you project something, then you can sculpt over those projected results to add extra personalities or characteristic to the model, because some of the scan data is fun, but there's some artifact when you project. Now it's the time, right? That's when it's a good time to try to manually sculpt some details. Okay, can just maybe enhance this little connection here better. Okay, yeah. So it's just a matter of adding those details now, right? There's nothing really, not that much things I think that's worth talking about, right? It's just the process of being patient and adding details, right? It's not that difficult. All it requires is patience. I think if there's something that I can talk about here is that when you're doing those kind of details, don't try to judge it yet when you're adding like those things. Don't say they're wrong yet. After you adding all those things together, that's when you see like, okay, they're fitting together now. Because if you're just working on this thing, like, of course it's gonna feel weird in there because this is the only part that you have this, right? Of course it's gonna be feeling like it's wrong because there's nothing happening on this guy. If you add all those wrinkles together and then you take a look, they'll fit together again, right? So just don't say, okay, this is too strong, it's weird, I must have done it wrong. Maybe that's not the reason why it looks weird. The reason maybe is because, you know what, you haven't done the other part yet, so it's isolated, right? It's like something strange, but really it is just not really happening on other parts of the body yet, which makes it looks weird. Okay. Another thing I think that could be helping you for like doing this kind of detailing is that if you're really not really like knowing or thinking like you're getting it right or not, or it's too strong or too weak kind of thing, you could have like a layer, right? Adding a new layer, do your sculpting, right? When you're done with this sculpting, then you can lower down the layer intensity if it's too weak, too strong, or too weak, and then you apply by doing bake out, right? That way you can tweak your intensity later on if it does feel like too strong afterwards. Okay. Also, when you're reaching to this stage, there's always time to refine. Like here, I think I need a little bit more budging happening in here. So I'm trying to go to a lower subdivision level, sculpt that, smooth it, and go back up higher, right? To have, so I think that's a little bit too much of a budge here. Lower that down. Okay. Right, you can gradually fixing any other problems you see down the way. Some really strong wind coast going down this way. All right, cool. Yeah, I think I have shoot enough, right? So I'm not gonna go advance more. It's basically the same thing again and again. So really, I don't think there's any secret that's worth revealing. It's if you feel like, okay, you see my video, you cannot do the same thing. That's what's supposed to be happening if that's the first time you're doing the hand or something like that. It's never gonna be easy to do the first time. That's the beauty of also being like a character artist. When you reach to a level after 4 years, it takes another person also equally 4 years to reach to the same level. So you don't worry about, like, you know, when there's new tool coming out, you suddenly got replaced, right? That's not happening. Well, I shouldn't say that's not gonna happen, like, period, but you know, from the time being, right? You know, your experience, the time you have put into this will be, you know, something that's kind of like never gonna be expired just because some new tools or whatever come out. Other people have to spend the same amount of time to reach to your level. Okay, so yeah, just be patient, practice, do iterations, right, and gradually you'll be able to get there. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that's it for this entire tutorial series. Thanks for watching. See you next time.